Welcome. This is part 2 of our investigative series into tax credit affordable apartment properties, also known as LIHTCP, Low Income Housing Tax Credit Properties. We are the Citizens for Fair Treatment of Applicants to Affordable Tax Credit Apartment Programs. Thousands of these apartment properties exist across the United States, and they receive millions of dollars in local, state, and federal construction, as well as tax credit monies. Their day-to-day operations are supposed to be in compliance with regulations written by the Housing and Urban Development, known as HUD, a federal agency. Each state from Maine to Florida to California has a state agency set up to assure that these properties comply with state and federal regulations. The main subject of our series is Rittenhouse Square, a tax credit property in Los Angeles owned by Thomas Safran Associates. The state compliance agency is Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger's Tax Credit Allocation Committee, headed by William Prevail and Bill Lockyer, State Treasurer. But the Tax Credit Allocation Committee of California has been served with numerous public requests for records, but they have not responded to the requests. On December 6, a notice of failure to respond to Public Records Act requests was served on Urban Futures, Thomas Safran Associates, the Mayor and City Council of Los Angeles, Attorney General Jerry Brown, the Governor's Tax Credit Allocation Committee, and others. A claim for damages is anticipated. A complaint has also been filed against the Internal Revenue Service, which gives out millions to state tax credit allocating agencies. We believe that the numerous amount of government boards and committees and agencies like the Tax Credit Allocation Committee should be disbanded in favor of establishment of people's courts. Put the money into people's courts. If you go to buy a hamburger, you expect to be told the hamburger is $1, but you don't expect to be told that there will be additional charges at some future date. You don't expect that there's going to be any other conditions that you're not told about when you go to buy the hamburger. So why should the public be forced to go to any professional, whether it be a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist, and not be told the exact charges up front, and not be given a reasonable estimate of what those charges are at the time they go for service? What do you think is going to happen if the government takes over the healthcare system? More of the same and worse. State contractors like Thomas Safran Associates feel they have the authority to do whatever they want. So we think those boards like Tax Credit Allocation Board, the Board of Dentistry, etc., should be eliminated in favor of people's courts. You may have heard that if you file a discrimination complaint, you will need to get a right to sue letter. Well, that's another administrative agency requirement. And we certainly don't discourage you from doing that if that's what you want. But realize that administrative agencies are not fact-finding bodies. Administrative agencies can act in very arbitrary and biased ways. So, our experience and research has shown that you may want to try as much as possible to stay away from administrative agencies. If you need a right to sue letter, in terms of housing discrimination, you don't need the right to sue letter, but if you need it for other purposes, go ahead and get it, but just don't depend on that agency to investigate on your behalf. You've heard about housing discrimination, that it has to be blatant. Well, it doesn't have to always be blatant to go after your rights. There's such a thing as pretextual discrimination. Pretextual means that the reason that they gave you for denying you housing is a pretext, meaning it's not based on the facts. Say, for instance, they said you didn't make enough money for the apartment, but the facts show you did make enough money. Then that would be a pretext. That would be just as powerful to claim a pretext of discrimination as if you had blatant discrimination. Stay tuned for part 3 of our series.